Hello, today I want to show you how you can create nice looking user interfaces directly from Jupyter notebooks without any JavaScript knowledge. And this is a library called IPyWidgets, and you can transform this notebook immediately into a nice looking web application using Voila, which is also a first-class citizen on the JupyterLab ecosystem. So let's dive directly into it. So for those who follow my channel, you might know that I'm creating a library called Claimed, the component library for AI, machine learning, ETL, and data science. And part of this library is a set of notebooks, which are the components for granular tasks, and also some tooling, for example, to transform the notebooks into container images or Kubeflow or Airflow components, and also to transform those into a container which you can push to Knative, and that can be served in a serverless fashion, accepting HTTP requests, or also I'm planning to also enable Kafka streams. Anyway, so you see also some functionality is directly embedded in the notebook. That's true for all the claimed components. So here, depending on what environment variables you are injecting, you can either make the component to create a container image and push the container image to your favorite registry, or you can also tell the component to install its dependencies. Okay. So this is now deactivated because everything is here running locally in a Conda environment. So we can basically just start here, or just to make sure we are starting from scratch. Let's get a new kernel, and then if you just run this notebook, you will see that those code lines here are skipped. So what we actually need here, the magic begins. We need to have some imports. You see here it's IPyWidgets, and you can easily create components now, though those are UI components. So here we are creating, for example, buttons, and this is a layout widget. So here's a button, and you see here per default it's disabled. The other one is enabled. And then we have a layout widgets for vertical alignment, and we just say these two buttons have to be aligned vertically, and that's actually our left-hand menu. You will see that in a second. And then the next is the actual application panel. So this contains of a file upload. So maybe before I continue, what I actually create here is a little application which allows me to test machine learning or deep learning image processing endpoints. So what I want to do is I want to load an image from my hard drive and send it over via HTTP to the remote endpoint and then display the result. Okay, so let's continue with the application. So obviously you need a file uploader. So I'm here filtering for PNG files for now, because at the moment I'm only supporting PNG, and here I say multiple false because I only want to upload one file. And then I want to have another widget here. That's the image widget, which is actually allowing me to display the image. And per default, I'm hiding this. So there are two properties to hide a widget. If it's none, it doesn't occupy space, and if it's hidden, it occupies space. So it doesn't break your layout, but it's invisible. And I have a little progress bar with a 0 to 2 value range, and I can set the value to 0, 1, and 2, and it nicely shows me the progress of my processing. So let's actually run this as well. And then I have another panel here for configuration. So this is the actual endpoint I want to send the image to. And obviously this needs to be changeable, but per default I'm just using one on my local machine. And that's also a container image, which is also, by the way, a claimed component. I can also create a little video on that if you're interested. And this is here invisible initially. So that's then basically building up a nice menu system. So there was some folks who asked me whether it's possible to have a menu on the left-hand side using Voila and IPyWidgets, and yes, it's true. It's feasible, and that means you don't need Streamlit, for example, for having a menu on the left-hand side. Okay, now it's getting a little more complicated. So what we here create is a callback handler. So whenever the file upload button is pressed and a new file is selected, I'm here filtering for the correct event type, then and correct content, then this code actually runs, and this code in a simplified manner is actually just posting the actual image from my hard drive to the remote endpoint here. And note that the endpoint URL is basically also pulled from the configuration widget. And also what I'm doing is I'm updating progress bar, and I'm attaching this callback handler to the upload button. And then finally, I'm creating the application panel, which is a vertical alignment of the progress bar, the uploader button, and the actual image, which then can be displayed. And finally, I'm having here also the logic for deactivating and activating the buttons on the left-hand side, because it gives you an indication where you are in the menu if the button is deactivated. That's just something I could easily automate to make it a little easier. And finally, I'm just creating the whole application. So there is a horizontal layout. So left-hand side is menu, and then I have the application and the config stacked on top of each other, but since always one is deactivated, you won't notice that. Okay, so we can just start it here, and I have messed up something, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue because I can directly push this application to Voila. So I've installed the Voila extension in JupyterLab, and I can then just say here Voila, and you see it here on the right hand side. If nothing breaks, that we should see the application. Okay, so what I can do now here is I can click on this upload button, then the callback handler is triggered after I have selected the correct file. So let's actually take this famous image from the Beatles, and you see here the progress bar is actually reflecting that something is going on. And after this comes back, I'm then also re-enabling this upload button. So I just want to make sure nobody's clicking on it at the moment. And once this is back, then we should see the actual image. So here we are. So that's the result. And here you see the config. So that way I have here a menu on the left-hand side. Yeah. Okay, so that's work in progress. I'll give you an update if I have made some more progress. And also I will create another video on the YOLO 5 service. By the way, that's a YOLO 5 component which I've created in the claimed library, which you can deploy to any Docker or Kubernetes environment, and also including Knative. At the moment, this is here running in a local container, but I have also one running in IBM Code Engine, which is basically Knative as a service. Okay, thanks a lot for watching. All the best. Bye.